A Dr. Linda Davis. Dead. Dead just going to work in the morning. She worked as a special ed teacher in a school. I believe it was K-8. And the funny thing is, apparently there wasn't even children at school that day. She was just going in for other work. And she died in a traffic accident because of an illegal immigrant fleeing ICE. Now, you hear people say like, well, just don't bring a gun and go to some violent protest and you'll survive. I said that about Preddy. I said it. Yep, that's true. You hear people say, well, just don't get in a car and stalk ICE and then it's fine. People said that about Renee Good. I said it. Yep, it's true. It's totally true. You see all these stories of people getting detained by ICE and they try and flee on foot and they get hit by a truck. Yep, they're super dead, right? You see a story of someone working at a marijuana farm and ICE raids the place and this dude falls off of the building trying to escape. It's like, well, yeah, that's what happens. But here's an innocent woman, a American citizen, minding their own business, and they're dead. They're dead because of someone fleeing arrest. And I'm kind of I'm kind of disgusted in myself at this because I always hated people who were sitting there immediately twisting every narrative to be anti whatever, and I've become that person. I've become the person who sees this, and the first thing I think is, I wonder how Democrats are going to spin it. I wonder how they're going to make this anti-Trump. And I kind of hate myself for that. I hate myself for being one of those people, but that's reality. That is reality. The reality is that Ann Allen Westbrook, a Democrat who represents Chatham County in Georgia House of Representatives, said that the crash occurred in an area that many families drive through on a daily basis, including her own. Sorry, I had to get really emotional there. I ended up just sounding like Jack Black, and now I understand why he sounds like that whenever he's trying to pretend that he's emotional about something. It's because he's a bad actor. Anyway, they go on to say, Ann Allen Westbrook, a Democrat, goes on to say, the scale and magnitude of ICE's dragnet is costing us too much. Us? Who's us? The imaginary families you're talking about? Your own family? Is that who you're talking about? What about Linda Davis? It cost her her life. It didn't cost you shit. You're sitting here virtue signaling about it. You're using it as optics to try and push your narrative. This man, Oscar Vasquez Lopez, was an illegal immigrant from Guatemala, according to the DHS. And according to the DHS, he had a final order of removal signed by a judge in 2024. What do you want them to do to get rid of the illegal immigrants? I mean, everything has to be so perfect for people. Like, we don't live in a perfect world. You can't just pretend that bad things never happen and that we have to be ultra moral about everything. Oh, well, we wouldn't want to arrest them that way because they might get rope burns on their wrists. Like, they might get pinched skin if the handcuffs get them the wrong way. No, we have to find... Let's use some sort of gel to keep their hands together. Oh, well, no, we wouldn't want to mess up the moisture level of their skin. Like, come on. You know how this woman would have lived if they had just lit up the car with a gun? And then the guy never would have fled because he'd have been dead. He's an illegal immigrant. He's supposed to have been gone in 2024. He's still here for whatever reason. Like, I'm not saying they should have done that. I'm saying that, yeah, there is another way. Because that's what the Democrats are saying. There was another way. They're always going to present some magical extra way that doesn't exist. And they'll never tell you what it is. But here's an example. And as soon as I saw this story yesterday, I didn't make a video on it because it was like no information whatsoever. But I saw that the police didn't know anything about ICE. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, you know what? People are definitely going to spin that. And lo and behold, they have. Chatham County Chairman Chester Ellis said that if the county had been made aware, there likely would have been a way to arrest Lopez without endangering others and ultimately killing Linda Davis. Of course, there's a potential other way that this could have happened. There's actually many potential other ways that this could have happened. But going on, he says, quote, I'm saying to the president on down to all of our national leaders, there's a better way to do this. And I think if you allow us to be at the table to draw out strategies and come up with ways of doing things, we can prevent this. there's a better way, period. Except not really, because then he doesn't have a response to that. He just says we're going to draw up strategies and come up with ways of doing things. So you don't actually have a better way of doing it. You plan to sit down, you plan to have every county chairman, every police agency, you want them to sit down with the federal government, with the DHS, and plan out a strategy to deport each of the roughly 14 million illegal immigrants. Yeah, that sounds reasonable. I think we're going to have way more illegal immigrants coming into the country than leaving it, though, if we were to do that. If we were to hand tailor a way to safely extract every single one of them. But again, you could have just gone harder and faster. You could have just made damn sure that this guy was not going to flee. But you can't. You can't do that. You have to be soft hands McGee. And speaking of which, Ellis pointed out that the local law enforcement agencies in Chatham County have restrictive chase policies and would not have been able to take the action ICE did. Well, they would have been able to do it, but you restrict them from doing it. This is a quote, we have a no chase policy, and the no chase policy is to help protect our citizens more than it is anything else. So there may have been a different way to corner the individual so that he could not run, or that he could not cause an accident that took the life of Dr. Davis. Do you also have a no-gun policy for your police? Because they might miss, or the bullet might ricochet, and it might hit some random civilian. I mean, how soft can you be? Seriously. You have a no-chase policy, so let them get away. It's the same thing with people stealing from stores these days, and instead of the threat of punishment, they think, oh, I got away with it. Oh, I'll get away with it again. I'll get away with it again. And 5 years later, they finally get arrested for petty theft. Then they stole like $3,000 worth of cheese. It's like, you're literally creating a society where people feel like they can get away with crimes. Well, we wouldn't want to chase them because, you know, that would be justice. We wouldn't want to enact justice on them. It might cause other people duress. What if our siren is going and we cross by a car on the street that has an autistic person inside of it and they have a mental breakdown upon hearing a loud noise? And we wouldn't want to be meanie weenies. Saying that it's preventable. Yeah, it was preventable. It would have been preventable if the guy wasn't allowed to stay in the country illegally for 2 years. It feels like we have an infinite immigrant problem. And we have people who, they're not necessarily saying in this particular case not to get rid of the illegal immigrants, but they want to go about it in a way that is not feasible. You can't just sit on your hands forever. You can't tailor a way to get rid of every immigrant specifically for them and for their life. Well, you know, he goes to sleep at 12:08 a.m. He wakes up at 6:45 a.m. So we're going to have to schedule this around him because he might leave. Like, it's ridiculous. Just arrest them. But instead of just arresting them, instead of doing it hard and fast, we have to do it slow and soft. And so this guy should have been gone out of the country. We shouldn't even be having this debate over whether or not there was a better way to do it. That should have never even been a question. The guy shouldn't be in the country. The guy probably should have never been allowed in the country to begin with, although I don't know what pretense he came to the country. But, you know, what pretense is there to come to America from Guatemala when you have the intent to stay there illegally? Then it's probably not something strong, something very tangible. It's probably just they came on a passport and decided to just stay. That's my guess anyway. And I don't know, what better way do you see there being, Chester Ellis? What better way is there? What was her name? Westbrook. Ann Westbrook. What better way is there? Just to build a case forever? Like a thief stealing from Walmart? You just wait year after year until finally you've got them in the perfect fly trap. And you do that for 15 million illegal immigrants, and what kind of damage do they do in the meanwhile? What message does that send to the people of the country that the government is going to be apathetic about this? Hard and fast. Thanks for watching.